If you've lived in Seattle for any length of time, you know this city is booming and going through a lot of changes. And while all of that is very exciting, we don't want to forget our past and really what's made our city unique. Well, thanks to the Instagram account Vanishing Seattle, we can easily track all the institutions that close and then get reminders of small businesses that are still here and that we can support. Cynthia Brothers is the woman behind Vanishing Seattle, and now she's about to release a new book called Signs of Vanishing Seattle. She's joining me now, along with her book partner, Thomas Eichmans. Thank you both for being here this morning.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
So, you know we're a big fan here of Vanishing Seattle, but remind everybody what the whole Instagram account is about.
Yeah, so Vanishing Seattle started in 2016 as a media account, started on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and has expanded into documentary film, projects, and art exhibits, basically documenting places that have disappeared, been pushed out, but as you said, also places that are still around.
That are not vanishing,
exactly.
As you say on your account.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us, there was an event called Rail Spur that happened last summer. It was an exhibit, Rail Spur exhibit. Tell us what that was and how it came together to help inspire the book.
Yeah, so there's a historic warehouse building in Pioneer Square called the Rail Spur, named after the railways that used to run through there.
Okay.
And for a couple years, Archive and Forest for the Trees were programming the whole building to activate it as an art space, as a satellite event to the Seattle Art Fair. So they approached me last summer to see if I wanted to basically have a whole floor of the building, 12,000 square feet, to program as a Vanishing Seattle exhibit.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
I remember talking to you about that. You must have been here last year when we talked about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so fast forward to 2024, you met Tom and now you're working together on that project. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of people, I was following the Vanishing Seattle social media account and a big fan of kind of documenting places loved and lost, which is kind of one of the themes that's run through this all. And when the call went out for collecting signs for this exhibit, I saw that, and I'm connected to a space in Ballard called the Woodland Theater, and we had some older signs that were used in old DIY kind of artist spaces, and one of them was called the SS Marie Antoinette. It's a big kind of plywood sign, and I contributed it to the exhibit, and then when I went actually to visit the exhibit, I think like a lot of people, you would walk in and see sign after sign after sign that reminded you of things that you might have seen in Seattle 20 years or 30 years or 50 years ago. And I immediately started to get the idea that these signs, along with the wall text that would go along with them and people's stories that they would contribute, could make a really special book.
This is a beautiful book. I mean, it really is. I think that, you know, when we see these old signs, there is a bit of nostalgia, it reminds you, but it's also for those of us who did not grow up here, what a great way to really experience the history on a very, very intimate level with Seattle, which I think is incredible. It's just beautiful throughout the whole book. And of course, you know, what else can people find in the book?
Yeah, so we ended up gathering close to 100 signs. I just kind of put out a call to basically my followers in Seattle, and people sent in, they lent us their signs that they had stored in their garages, their basements, their businesses, their homes. And so in addition to having, you know, all the signs in display, we also wanted to make it interactive. So we encourage folks to, on Post-its, write their memories associated with these places.
So neat.
Yeah, and place it throughout the exhibit, or there'd be other prompts where they could name places loved and lost. So we really wanted to include that interactive, like, memory storytelling element of it. So that's also documented in the book.
I have only been here about a decade, but Nickerson Cafe, R.I.P., that was one of my favorite places to eat in Seattle. Okay, well, speaking of things that are vanishing, of course, every time you're here, you remind us of places that we have lost or are about to lose. So let's go through a list, starting with Cafe Racer.
Yeah, so Cafe Racer just closed their doors at the end of June. They're a pretty legendary kind of experimental outsider art venue. They've been around for 20 years, started on Roosevelt, had a lot of instances where they kind of survived and were resilient through a tragic shooting in 2012. The pandemic, displacement, were able to reopen on 11th Ave and Capitol Hill. And the reasons they said were because of rising cost and just like not a lot of like business and revenue since the pandemic.
That's a
So
shame.
they closed their doors, but they do want to still remain an arts nonprofit so they can continue to partner with other groups
That's
to put
great.
on events.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, not completely gone. Mad Art Studio.
Yeah, so this was an arts organization that started in 2009 and has had a pretty large art space in South Lake Union for the last 10 years, which is pretty rare in that neighborhood at this point.
Yeah, because everything's all fancy pants now.
Yeah, and offices and corporate stuff. So it was large enough that artists could, build installations inside it. And so they've supported close to 100 artists over the last 10 years. They're going to be closing on July 13th, and right now they have their final exhibit with over 50 artists that have been a part of Mad Art before.
Did they say why they have to close?
I think they just kind of thought it was time and wanted to go out on a high note. So
all right,
yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Arc Lodge. I'd never heard of this.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorites. It's been referred to as the gem of Columbia City. It's an independently run cinema house, 3 different screens. It's in this historic Masonic lodge that was built in, I think, 1921.
Wow.
They show first run stuff, also do community events like lesser known independent films, and another place that's had a lot of close calls in the past few years, and it's just been a hard time in the independent movie business for small businesses. So they announced that the owner is going to put the building up for sale, but they're still open as now. So please go support them.
Go see a movie.
Yeah. Get out
Oh
of the
my
heat.
gosh. All right, finally, Taco Time on 45th and Wallingford. What?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
I know, it was kind
That's an iconic building. A little bit ridiculous, but I've always loved it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's kind of iconic because it is such a weird building.
Yeah.
So that Taco Time has been there since 1974, but that kind of retro futuristic cube-like building.
Yeah, it's always closed?
Yeah. So that was
That's a
built in
shame.
1990 and specifically to stand out from the other franchises.
Yeah.
And because of the way it looks, it's been referred to as like the Blade Runner Taco Time, the Disco Taco Time. But someone just sent me a picture of a sign posted on the door that they're closing on July 15th.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
No news on that?
I guess business has just, again, been slow, so they're having to
It's a shame.
close, unfortunately. Get that good, fresh while you still can.
All right, well, staying in Wallingford, something that is unvanished.
Yes.
Julia's on Wallingford.
Yeah, so I like to end on a happy note. So Julia's in Wallingford, long-standing, popular breakfast and lunch spot, been around since 1981, and they closed at the end of last year, so a lot of people were really heartbroken by that.
Yeah.
But then it was bought by the Morales family, who actually used to work with the previous owner back in the day.
Oh, I love
Yeah, so it
that.
kind of comes full circle. They always had a dream of owning their own restaurant. They did some updates to the space, but looks like very familiar, kept the same menu, but added some new stuff like chilaquiles, and their
Yum. You're gonna
their
make me
tuna
hot in
melt
the
is
stomach.
fire. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
So yeah.
All right, before I let you two go, how can people pre-order the book?
Well, you can find it on the Vanishing Seattle website in the shop. We're running pre-orders through the end of the month, after which we're going to have a big launch event on July 28th at Common Area Maintenance.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both. And I'll just remind everyone, so again, like Tom said, Vanishing Seattle is holding a book release event on Sunday, July 28th at the Common Area Maintenance in Belltown. If you want to RSVP, just go to the Vanishing Seattle website and check it out. Go on, let's go check it out. Let's get together.